where we'll go in depth on the day's news so you know what happened and why it matters to you.
Every week, our Power Politics podcast will spend time with newsmakers and national leaders so you understand why Washington works the way it does.
Sign up today on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or wherever you get your podcasts. Just search The Hill.
For The Hill, I'm Alexis Simendinger.
And I'm Neve Ellis. We'll see you on Hillcast.
Worry because the engine is covered against failure for life. It's called the Lifetime Protection Plan for the Engine from BG Products. Now imagine having this huge benefit free with your next oil service when you remember these two letters, BG. BGMOA is available at over 20,000 shops nationwide. Find yours at bgfindashop.com. That's bgfindashop.com.
Computer and smart device. Progress never stops, and neither do you. You need to hear the latest news, commentary, and interviews. Download the free app with your all-access subscription and stream every Progress show no matter where you are. Anywhere, anytime. We're here. Active, essential, progressive Progress.
STMK Radio 100.
Just start with the fact that he obstructed justice by firing the FBI head, James Comey, in order to shut down this Russian investigation. We already know it. The obstruction of justice case is very clear. He has been taking payments illegally from day one from foreign governments. We already have more than enough information to impeach this president and remove him from office. I think it's pretty clear that Mr. Flynn was doing improper things in his connection with Russia, in his contacts with Russia, and that he was connected at the very top of the Trump campaign and the Trump administration. I don't think there's any question that this goes to the very top of the campaign and the administration. If you see one cockroach, you don't need to see 1,000 cockroaches to know you have cockroaches. What we're really looking for is for the voice of the American people to be raised to a loud enough level that our elected officials in Congress have to listen. Because I think the evidence is in, and the evidence continues to mount. I'm Tom Steyer, and like you, I'm an American citizen who's concerned about the direction of the country under Donald Trump.
STMK Radio 100. You're listening to Stop the Madness, Keep It 100 with your host, Sean L., Let, and Tone the Stone on STMK Radio 100.
Yes, this is a PSA, a public street announcement. You are now listening to a Kickback production. Light up your L's, lean back, and listen.
Cross-check, the notorious voter suppression program. that was responsible for putting the 45th president in office, Donald J. Trump.
Absolutely. The big news of this week is President Trump signing an executive order disbanding the sham voting commission, the Election Integrity Commission. And this really is a colossal failure for this administration when you think about it. We're on the heels of hitting 1 year with this administration, and this was their big push. This was their big claim that there were millions of people who voted fraudulently in the 2016 election, and we know that those claims are false. He launched this commission to attempt to substantiate those claims of vote fraud, but he faced a monsoon of litigation from organizations like mine, the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law, and others who really backed the administration into a corner. And it was the crushing weight of our litigation that really backed them into a corner and resulted in this huge victory this week, the disbanding of the commission.
Statement we have just received from the White House, the Office of the Press Secretary, telling us that the President's Advisory Commission on Election Integrity, the Voter Fraud Commission, as was called, is now being dissolved. Let me read the statement from the White House. Quote, despite substantial evidence of voter fraud, many states have refused to provide the Presidential Advisory Commission on Election Integrity with basic information relevant to its inquiry rather than engage in endless legal battles at taxpayer expense. Today, I signed an executive order to dissolve the commission, and I've asked the Department of Homeland Security to review these issues and determine next courses of action.
Madness. I mean, this commission was unprecedented. They issue requests to all 50 states asking that state election officials turn over data, private data on every American across the country, social security numbers, date of birth, last 4 of your social, who you voted for. Why do they need to know that information about us? I'm really proud of the many states on both sides of the aisle that refuse to participate or turn over data, but you're exactly right. That Chris Kobach, who heads the commission, his own state, refused to turn over the data. And we can't forget that this commission was very sloppy. You had commission members that were using private email addresses to carry out commission activity. They were seeking all of this data that would have been handled and transferred over servers that were not secure. I mean, this is an administration that really is waging an all-out assault on voting rights. And that assault is directed at African Americans, Latinos, poor people, students. And the end goal was to lay the groundwork to promote voter suppression across the country. And so the fact that we helped to put the death knell in that effort is a real victory that we should all be celebrating.
Well, this commission was a fiasco from day one because it was investigating fraud which does not exist. What this has all been about has been Republican efforts since the 2010 elections to make it harder for black people and poor people to vote. This is something that the Obama administration went to court about repeatedly. The Jeff Sessions Justice Department has dropped those cases when they can. This is a huge civil rights issue in this country. The Trump administration has recognized how difficult it is. I mean, it has recognized the futility, at least, of this commission, but in state after state, you still see Republican efforts to stop early voting, to stop absentee ballot voting, to make it harder for people to vote with photo IDs. I mean, this is a huge civil rights issue in this country. It's a good step that this ridiculous and unnecessary commission is gone, but it's only one step, and there are a lot more problems.
We have to remain vigilant. The war continues, but we got to redefine how we define victory in this moment. And this is a big victory. We crushed them. We killed them. They had to dismantle this whole sham commission. And now they have to start from scratch. There are talks that they want to move the commission's work over to the Department of Homeland Security, which is ridiculous. Homeland Security exists to deal with the threat of terrorism in our country, and the idea that this agency would now be conducting or looking at data concerning vote fraud, which doesn't exist, is really troubling. So You're right. We have to remain vigilant. We've got the president using his Twitter platform to promote voter ID. If there are any states that heed his call and put discriminatory, burdensome voter ID laws on the books, we'll sue them. We'll sue this administration. We'll sue the states. We'll sue anyone who takes action to make it harder for people to vote.
Good evening and welcome to the second season of Stop the Madness, Keep It 100. I'm your host, Sean L. And in Studio 51 with me is Sax Man. What's up, Sax Man?
What's happening, Sean? I'm back in the studio.
Yeah, you back here with us.
Sax
hey, we
back.
want to thank our 22 cities that is listening to us right now on internet, radio, and the people that's watching on our streaming TV. We'd like to thank you for coming back with us also. Facebook Live, thank you for coming on right now. We only got a couple of people in the chat room, about 84 in our online chat room. And Facebook, we tying up with them, and YouTube. And look like there's Charles Henny's in there. We're going to have him on here next week with us. So, Charles, stick with us. We're trying to fire up our chat rooms now and coming on.
The chat room people are still suffering from the hangover from New Year's, man. That's what that is, man.
Yeah, you know what that is. It's hard to get them, to come off of Facebook and YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
But we're gonna get a little serious here because Tone the Stone is coming into the studio with us coming up later on, and we're gonna have a guest coming in, John, and we're gonna talk a lot. We're gonna go in the chat room and see D-Knows and find out what's happening. But Sax Man, we're gonna really talk about right now is what's happening with our voter registration things going on right now, and that's the Internet Voter Registration Cross-Check Program. And this is very serious because this is going to be something that everyone's going to talk about for a long, long time when it comes to voter suppression. And Ohio is right in the middle of it. So I want everybody to understand this. Ohio is right in the middle of voter suppression. Coming to stop us from on the thing right there. In studio with us, as he trying to get mic'd up as always, Tone the Stone.
Coming tearing up the place.
Hey, he'd be everybody be all right. So what I want to say right here, go into our program. You heard the lead into the Interstate Voter Registration cross-check program, and this is one of the most dangerous programs that was created by the GOP, Sax Man. Yeah. They coming on to the time of taking voters off of the roll, and there's 2 court cases right now, and it's going through this. And the cross-check program is the baby of Kansas attorney at state Chris Kobach. And he has a history of voter suppression. And what that cross-check program is all about is that they go into the voter rolls, and if you have names similar to each other as Saxman Williams and Saxman L. Williams Jr., they're taking everybody off of the roll.
Everybody got to go.
In Studio 51 with us is a young man. He's going to come in here and talk with us tonight also. John, what's happening with you?
How you feel, son?
I'm doing all right. Just pull into your mic there so we can hear you right there.
Okay, you can hear me?
Yeah, there you go. Well, hey, we welcome John to help you there.
How you doing?
And Tone the Stone, are you mic'd up yet, or you still playing with yourself?
No, I can't hear nothing.
Oh, you can't hear nothing.
Yeah, he still got that Hennessy bottle and drink that Hennessy bottle.
Okay, there you go. I know you can hear it now.
Yeah, now I can hear you.
Right now we starting our. I want to say this before we get back into our cross-check program. 2017 was a glory fast year for us, and we was really running 2017 when we picked up 5 extra cities to hear us on internet radio. And I want to thank everybody who stayed with us on internet radio. We can get them off of Facebook. As I'm telling everybody right now, go to STMK Radio 100's Facebook page and click on that link and come into the free thing and see us live on streaming TV, because we're doing streaming TV also with internet radio, and you will get to hear everything that's happening in the show.
And get off of Tone the Stone's sex porno app and start
Hey,
watching.
Facebook Live, Gerald Hall, what's happening? Wait, man, we appreciate you coming with us for our second season, and we starting right here. But Tone, you know, you didn't hear the intro. We was talking about the cross-check program, the new GOP voter registration to stop people from voting. And, you know, I want to make this clear to everybody. And John, I don't know if you know about cross-check, but I want to educate everybody, because we're going back to education here this year for our voters, okay? And I want everybody to know there is no constitutional right for you to vote. The Constitution does not affirm giving you a right to vote, okay? And we have to understand this, because if you look at the First Amendment, the 14th Amendment, which is Equal Protection Clause, the 15th, 17th, 19th, 23rd, 24th, and 26th Amendment, they all deal with voting rights, okay? But they do not guarantee you the right to vote. What they say is that you cannot be discriminated against to vote, okay? Such now, if you go back into the state's charter, such as Ohio, which is a battleground state and have the notorious, and we live right here in Ohio, so I want everybody to know Ohio is notorious for voter suppression, okay? There's a case before the Supreme Court.
I didn't know that.
Right. There's a case before the Supreme Court right now that we're going to get into a little bit later, coming down into the thing after we come through this. Now, when I say you don't have the right, you have a right to vote, but it's not guaranteed, okay? In 1993, the National Voter Registration Act went into effect, and they told it states that they could only remove a registered voter from the rolls if he dies, if he's moved, if he asked to be removed, okay, or if he gets a felony. And some states have even granted felons their rights back, because we got Saxman sitting here with us to know that, okay? So these are the state laws. But the GOP, Kansas Secretary of State, who's also heading the President's Commission on Voter Fraud, because Donald Trump cannot accept that Hillary Clinton beat him in the popular vote by more than 5 million votes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so this is where it's all coming from. So let's just keep it the way it is. Okay, they are going on the voter rolls, and they are removing people from the voter rolls that have the same names, and this is affecting Muslims, Hispanics, more Hispanics than anybody, because, you know, everybody has the same last name, Gonzalez. Okay.
Hernandez. That's normal.
Right. So what they're doing is they're going down the voter roll. It could be James Hernandez. It could be James Jr. Hernandez. It could be James III Hernandez. They are removing you from the voter roll in Ohio, Georgia, Florida, wherever they find that name at on a similar name in the United States. This is all 50 states now, just not here. We talking about everywhere, okay?
We're doing this right now.
Right now. This started back in the 2016 election. That's what everybody should have been worried about during the election when Donald Trump got elected, because in Michigan alone, they took over 200,000 people off the voter roll. Now, what happened is 2016, what everybody's we're going to come back around with, and we're going to get into that. Remember, everybody, they're gerrymandering districts now, okay? The Supreme Court has made a ruling on gerrymandering. And guess what state is leading that again? The state of Ohio, a battleground state for the presidential election. And this is not a race issue. So I want everybody to come back into the especially the people in the chat room that's putting up, no, this isn't a race issue, because once you find out that the person who sued the state of Ohio from the 2016 election was a white voter. So they're putting it out there for everybody. So it affects everybody. It affects all voters, not just one race of voters, but it affects some voters more than other voters. And maybe this gentleman was removed from the rolls not only because his name matched something, but also because he was a Democrat voter. And that was something that they didn't expect about, because normally a majority of the people cannot spend $200,000 to fight the state of Ohio. This guy had a point to prove, and he had the money. So we're going to go into that case and listen to what he had to say about that. Now, what happened is the 2011 Wisconsin Act established requirements for all voters to present an approved valid ID, and that's the biggest thing that they're doing for voter suppression is you have to have an ID. In Alabama, Highway 31, which is a group that came into Alabama, had a good thing that all activists and everybody who wants to talk about voters registration, who want to talk about this, we have to understand it's your civil duty to go out and vote. Okay, you have to do that. And everybody has to go and do their civil duty. Okay, you cannot rely on Tone the Stone to vote. You can't rely on John to vote. We can't rely on Saxman. That's what got us in the situation we're in right now. Our health insurance is going up, but it's going up for all the wrong reasons. Everybody thinks that Obamacare wasn't working, and I know everybody got their own opinions of this, okay? Yeah. But you have to remember that when the Republicans voted to stop the risk bill to the insurance company, that actually put Obamacare in a death spin, because when the insurance company wasn't going to get their money back for the money they lost, it was a done deal on that. Okay, and now you look at your insurance premiums right now. I don't care where you at. I don't care who you voted for. I don't care if you're a Republican. I don't care if you're a Democrat. I don't care where you at. Guess what? Your insurance premiums are going up 10%. Okay, if you retired and you have insurance, you better get 10% for your budget for your premiums. Right now, you're talking about spending $2,500 out of your pocket a month on your insurance premiums. So I told you we had a guest with us tonight from the Red Room. John, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, I'm John Macklin. Right here.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay,
Tom, fix that
Macklin.
mic up for him so he can. That's your favorite spot.
Yeah, sit back and just bring the mic.
Well, flip it up to him. Flip it up to him. No,
Okay,
the other
okay.
way.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
I've
there you
been
go.
A good friend of your nephew.
Just come on into the mic, though.
Okay. Yeah, I've been a good friend. Well, he's been a client of mine. I cut hair. I've been cutting hair since legally with a license since 1996.
Well, that's good we got you in there, man, because, I need a good fade. I need somebody to know how to fade. I told you that earlier. But
yeah, this is a master barber right here. It's a master barber. And I meant to tell you, John, when we came
Wait,
in.
did you say masturbator or barber? Oh, my bad.
See, that's what I was getting ready to say, John. You were supposed to sit in the middle and keep us separated, man. Okay, it's like that. Yeah. Okay, I didn't want to just come in. I came in, took a spot while I was talking about.
Hey, it's
but
good.
Sax, it's good to see you, man. Welcome
It's good
back.
to have everybody in there.
I'm glad you recovered, man. You looking good as that mug can look, But good to have you back, brother.
I meant to tell Sean the reason why every time we rely on you to vote and voting go wrong because you keep voting on your family members.
but Saxman and Tone, I want to say this, because our social media feed is going up and down, and everybody don't understand that our forte is internet radio. That's where our bread and butter is. And when we tie into Facebook Live, YouTube, people come in and out of the chat room, as we found out last year, especially when you start talking about issues that they should know about. Voter registration is one of them. We have to at the time keep it serious for just a minute, then we can break it back into the fold right there, and our feed comes back in. And I want to say this because the Voting Rights Act of 1965, that law passed at a time when the civil rights movement was taking place. And I'm probably the only one old enough in here, John. I'm not going to say that you my age, but I'm probably the only older one in here who understands what was going on during that time. People being killed, lynched, houses being burned.
We same age.
Oh, well, yeah, Saxon, man, I forgot you is my age. I thought you was a little bit older, though.
Oh, damn. Okay.
But I was looking at that, and I want to tell everybody is that during the voting, 1965, 66, during the Voting Rights Act, a lot of people came in to register people. A lot of people came in of all races, okay? And everything is not about color. So I want the chat room this year and the people who listen to us on internet radio, all the progressives and everything. We have to get away from color, okay? Because that is what's stopping us from really doing what needs to be done.
I believe that.
Okay. The second thing is we have a problem. We're gonna talk about that the second hour with our kids and the crime in the community. We're gonna go in depth into that. We got our law enforcement officer sitting with us, and we're gonna go in depth about some things that happened to show us what's going on and the effects of social media on our kids. We're gonna talk about that also. But getting back to the cross-check program, you have to understand when President Donald Trump got into office, due to the fact that he could not stand that Hillary Clinton beat him by 5 million votes, he came up with the idea of voter fraud. Okay, millions of people of voter fraud. Well, we went out to across the 50 states and we talked to everybody. Would give us a statement, with the exception of Chris Kobach. And the reason he wouldn't give us a statement is because he's in court right now and he has lost one court battle. And the commission that was set up by President Donald Trump, which is the biggest news to go, the Presidential Advisory Commission on Election Integrity, the Presidential Advisory Commission on Election Integrity, what's called voter fraud, was established May 2017 by the President Donald J. Trump by Executive Order 13799. That commission refused to give Democrats their information and files, notes, and reports. Okay, and one of the Democrats sued them and took them to court and won. Okay, and the court ruled that they had to turn over all their files on cross-check. Well, guess what happened? The Republicans dissolved the commission and disbanded it. And they disbanded it because they didn't want to turn over their files. Okay? Let's make no mistake about that, folks. This is voter suppression on steroids for everybody.
How could they disband that?
Because it was done by executive order with the president.
Okay.
So when you look at that, okay, and they lost that court case. Remember, I told you there was 2 court cases. Okay, the court case that's before the Supreme Court right now, out of our state of Ohio, is a case on voter registration fraud and the removal of people from the voter rolls. Okay, and the Supreme Court heard oral arguments Wednesday on the Ohio case. And Sax, man, you should be up on this because the Supreme Court started oral arguments Wednesday in the Ohio law where voters are removed from the voter rolls if they skip casting a ballot in any federal election over a 2-year period and if they do not confirm their address. And this is what we're talking about, everybody being educated and registered and know what they're supposed to do. If you fail to vote in 2 federal elections, the state of Ohio sends you a postcard. You're required to send that postcard back to them, but they don't tell you that. Okay? Now, the gentleman, remember I told you this isn't racial. The law is saying if you fail to vote, you can be removed. The gentleman that was removed hadn't voted since 2008. Okay? But he knew his rights. And this is something that we must go back into and teach our kids and teach everybody. You have to know the law and you have to know your rights. Because when they refuse to allow him to vote and cash a provisional ballot until they find out if he was eligible to vote, he knew that was in violation of the 1993 Voter Registration Act. Remember, I told y'all that you can only be removed from the voting roll if you die, if you move, if you ask to be, or if you become a felon. Okay? So he sued the state of Ohio. And he won his first case. The state appealed it. Then the appellate court confirmed that they was in violation. And now it's before the Ohio Supreme Court. we got to protect voting rights, okay, people? We got to protect voting rights. And this is what's going on with that Ohio case.
What the challengers argue here, that's Larry Harmon and some civil liberties group, is that this violates a federal law that says states can only remove somebody from the voter registration list if they die, if they move, if they ask to be removed, if they have a felony conviction, or if they become mentally incapacitated, but not if they don't vote. And the groups say that voting is a right and that you have as much a right to vote as you have not to vote. And therefore, what the state is doing is illegal. Now, Ohio says it's not removing somebody from the rolls if they refuse to vote. That's just a trigger to send them a card to say, hey, are you out there? If you have moved, you can't vote. If you haven't moved, send this card back. So they say it's only a trigger. Now, if Ohio wins this case, it's the strictest one in using this procedure. If Ohio wins, at least a dozen other states say they will try the same thing. So it's an important case for that reason. It's an important case because Ohio is traditionally a battleground in presidential elections. So there's a lot here in this latest front in the voting wars.
Now you hear that. This is the other states are saying if the Supreme Court rules for the state of Ohio, they're going to do the same thing. So think about 2020, what's going to happen, Tony Stone. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, well, they shouldn't win. They shouldn't win that.
But when you say they shouldn't, see, Tony, that's the thing. What I'm saying, we're relying on Republican political judges on the Supreme Court who sets the standards of law, and we saying what they shouldn't do.
And if Trump get his way, because he is trying to pack the Supreme Court with his people.
Well, he did, and let me say this: we allowed that to happen. Okay, and I go back to our Bunny or Bus people. I go back to the other people that's on the line of who said they wasn't going to vote, care about their vote because they wasn't going to vote scared. Well, now they suffering the consequences of it. Okay.
And they all on the internet
crying
about that too.
But you not only that, just pull in just a little bit, John, so they can hear. Yeah, pull it back to your face. There you go. Okay. Right. They're all on the internet crying, and we're going to talk about the internet because you got to vote. And people, what you don't understand is this: when we talk about this voter suppression, and we're gonna stay on this all year for our young people, is if you do not get out and vote, you are allowing them to take all of the gains that were made. Okay, your ancestors did, and everybody fought for. Okay, and the ones that is not taken away will be taken away. And you got to get into it and physically move off on that. So,
but Sean, I'm going to be devil's advocate real quick. I can understand what some people are thinking. What's the point of me voting because they're going to wiggle their way in there anyway?
Exactly.
You see what happened to Trump. Trump used outside influence to get up in there, even though people voted. Even though Hillary got the popular vote, he got up in there. So a lot of people frustrated, and they saying, what's the point of me going out there, standing in line voting when my vote ain't going to make a difference?
But see, this Trump didn't wiggle his way up in there. You have to understand this. 47% of Americans didn't vote.
But because of that reason alone.
Right. But then you have to look at this. You go to cross-check what we're talking about right now, where 200,000 people was taken off the voter rolls. Okay. Then you go to another 10 million people voted third party. See, we're going to get into this the second hour, and we're going to talk with John a little bit and get him involved, because the second hour, we're back into the same situation that we was in back in the 80s, where people was crying for mass incarceration because of the crime, because our kids are out of control, because of the crime wave, because of kids committing murder. Okay, we're going to talk about that the second hour, so stay with us because we're going to get in deep on that situation right there.
Yes.
So when you look at something here, Tony Stone, and you have our kids out of control, committing murders, okay, not going to school, not being educated. Then you have people who turn around and don't want to do their civic duty and get out and vote for the proper people or do the right thing. Facebook, your vote don't count on Facebook, okay? If you get mad on Facebook, it don't count.
Yeah, damn
so
it, boy,
all I can say is this. Kind of to your point, Sax, how people feel like It don't make a difference. I agree with you. The political system is broke. It's flawed. There's some changes that need to be made. It needs to be updated. Okay, but to Sean's point, so put it like this. I didn't vote before Obama, and I didn't even vote for Obama in the first election. I didn't vote, but when I saw Obama get elected to presidency, that changed me. That changed my state of mind, and that made me start paying attention to politics and elections and stuff like that. And I've been voting ever since. Because I honestly believe, like I probably thought that I would never see a black man get elected to president.
White people elected
in my lifetime.
White people got him in there.
But what I'm saying is, I didn't think I would see that in my lifetime. So when I witnessed that, it changed my state of mind, and I started paying attention. And that's so we need people to realize what is possible. Forget all your skepticism. You have to believe in what is possible, and you have to support whatever causes you believe in.
But when you go in there, Tone, when you go in there trying to believe like that, being positive, and you see something happen like what Trump got in there, you lose all faith. You lose all faith.
But that's the system. It needs to be fixed.
A lot of people lost faith in the first when Bush got first elected.
Right. See, you have to look
that
at
happened. A lot of people lost faith.
But you have to look at this. Go back to Bush versus Gore.
Exactly.
Is that had everybody voted like they were supposed to, you wouldn't have this problem right now, okay? See, this is where the problem come into doing your proper civic duties and being a responsible voter, knowing who you're voting for and what's happening. To change a system is like changing a pool. You got to get in and get your hands dirty, okay? You can't change the system from outside. Everybody was talking about last year, John, police brutality, and you're from Euclid, so you having the same problem and the same discussion right now that your business is in, of police misusing people and not properly treating them properly, or police brutality or police misconduct. But I'm going to say this again: in order to change the outlook of the police officers in that city, you have to do it from the inside and break the policies of the broken window effect. Okay, they're trained to act this way and to treat people this way because they was trained to do this in the beginning to keep people that do not look like them out of their city.
And nobody put the muzzle on him all the way until now.
So to do this, you have to come back and ask from the inside. Okay? Classic example when you might know this guy, Damian Parker, got arrested, the activist. Video that went viral.
Right.
Okay, when he got arrested. Okay. He got arrested because the activists didn't set everything straight within the city and bad choices made by the city government, okay? That didn't have to play out like that. They could have called Damian up and told Damian come into the police station,
right.
Turn himself in.
Right.
But no, they sent their hitchmans out to send a message to Damian.
Don't come up in our station acting
to
up.
the rest of the people in the community and to the rest of the activists.
Yep.
Okay? So when you start looking at this, the people has to register to vote. And that's what I'm talking about, because everybody kept saying that a Democrat could never win in deep state Alabama. Remember, that's what everybody was saying. Nobody could win in deep state Alabama, not a Democrat. Well, a mystery super PAC came in and poured millions of dollars. Highway 31, that's what they known by. And they known by that because that's the highway that stretch across Alabama, through the country and back in through the river from Birmingham down to Selma, okay? And they put millions and millions of dollars in that state. The activists here in Cleveland who's crying about the billboards, who's crying about that sweatshirt from Switzerland with the kid on it, you can learn something from Highway 31. What they did was they went house to house, block to block in the neighborhood and asked the person, are you registered to vote? If you're not registered to vote, get in this van. We're going to take you to get an ID. We're going to take you to get your birth certificate. And then we're going to take you down to the voter registration to get you properly registered. Okay? That's how 40% of black America showed up in a red state and was able to help push a Democrat across the line. And we got to do that, especially with cross-check, people. This is very serious. Cross-check is a very serious thing that are removing people from the voter roll. And I don't care if you're a Democrat. I don't care if you're a Republican. The Constitution only says that you cannot be discriminated against in voting. It does not give you no firm right to vote. So you don't have a right to vote in America, okay? So you need to know this. And we got some state legislator, Tone, and I'm just talking about this, that is in the process of putting everything together where we're going to put it on the law. Because you have to ask yourself this, Tone, and this is for the millennials out there. Why are we continuing to fight voter fraud when we should put it in the state constitution that everybody gets one vote and the way they should carry out the vote?
Okay.
That's the American dream. So there is state legislators that are trying to get that on the ballot right now, and they got 3,000. They need 3,000 signatures or 30,000 signatures, and you should go to www.therighttovote, sign that petition, and let's start registering our kids and educating our kids on voting and stuff.
Which Sean, there's other things that a lot of young millennials don't understand too. That's been incarcerated, that then came out, then served their time, has did their probation, and still don't vote because they assume they can't because they're ex-felons. A lot of them don't know that they can vote, because once you off probation, you've paid all restitution, you free and clear of all sanctions, you can vote.
But
Right.
not
A lot of them don't know that.
but not all felons. Not all felons, actually. Only in Virginia and certain states restored your rights. Other states haven't. And that's why you need to.
You can in Ohio, though. I mean,
yeah, you can
Right,
in Ohio.
right. Only certain states did that. All states didn't. Texas hasn't restored your voting
Of
rights.
course
yet.
not. You know
Alabama
why.
has-
California. Have they
I don't think
restored it?
California was anything. I'm not really sure, but you would have to check to see, because there's certain felonies that they won't restore your voting rights for. Okay, so you have to check. And this is what I'm talking about: educating our community on voting and coming out and doing this. But hey, before we go anywhere, I want to go into the chat room with D Knows, because you know what? D Knows is with us for 2018. And D, I see some smoke in the chat room. Tell me what's happening.
Well, Chanel is 2018 and they're letting their opinions show. Cross-check GOP baby of Kansas Secretary of State Chris Kobach. Real Deal 88. Let's just get to the chase, Kobe. We all know what you want to do. Privatize government now. Greg Cooper, that's a laugh. Kobach, concerned about security? Funny Man 101. Maybe it wasn't so busy, if he wasn't so busy moonlighting, why didn't he go work for a software company instead of milking our tax dollars? If we elect him for governor, this state is more stupid than I thought. He's arrogantly lies to our county government and breaks zoning laws. Our tax dollars have had to pay for his court costs so he can hide records that should be public. He would be worse than Brownback. Wildman Red. Come on, this is only happening in red states. The Interstate Voter Registration Cross-Check Program is one of several projects that have been conceived in various states within the United States of America to prevent double voting through accurate voter registration roll maintenance. Wrong, it's a program to stop people of color from voting. Hashtag wake up. How many times are we going to let them lie to you and get away with this? Get out and vote. Funny Man 101. Hashtag wake up, get off your ASS and vote 2018. Take back our government and lock him up. And that's what's happening in the chat room with D's Knows.
The period of civil war has ended. It's definitely an improvement and totally not a lateral move. Join Ambassador Plek Dexeter and his intrepid crew as they explore astounding new worlds, discover their heroic destinies, and meet weird bug creatures and stuff. This is Mission to Zix.
Mission to Zix, an improvised science fiction podcast. That's CYXX, launching September 6th.
AP Radio News. I'm Ed Donahue. President Trump's take on the Russia investigation.
For 11 months, they've had this phony cloud over this administration, over our government.
At the White House today, appearing with the Prime Minister of Norway, the president said there was no collusion. He was asked if he'll be interviewed by Special Counsel Robert Mueller.
Certainly I'll see what happens, but when they have no collusion, and nobody's found any collusion at any level, it seems unlikely that you'd even have an interview.
The special counsel's team of investigators had expressed interest in speaking with the president. President Trump is expected to abide by the nuclear deal with Iran with conditions. Here's the AP's Warren Levinson.
The president has to decide by Friday whether to continue the sanctions relief called for in the 2015 agreement to curtail Iran's nuclear weapons program. Officials who've worked on the issue with the White House say he will, but Trump has complained bitterly that the deal doesn't address other issues of Iranian behavior, so it's likely, according to 6 individuals close to the decision-making, that he'll pair the extension with new targeted sanctions on Iranian businesses and individuals. The sources spoke on condition of anonymity and cautioned the president still might reject the extension recommended by the Secretaries of State and Defense and the National Security Advisor. I'm Warren Levinson.
24 people are still missing. 15 people have died from the mudslides in Southern California. The AP's Aaron Rainin has more on the rescue efforts.
I'm standing on top of a hill with a view of Montecito, and you can see these giant mansions dotted along the hillside. Helicopters are still in the air, 3 or 4 search and rescue helicopters scanning the hills. I've been talking to some of the local police and folks that know the police, and they've been telling me that along the railroad tracks that run along the Highway 101, right along the ocean, is one of the places where they've been extracting some of the fatalities.
Police in France say 5 thieves, some of them armed, entered the luxury Ritz Hotel in Paris. There's one report, $5 million worth of items were stolen. This is AP Radio News. At the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas, a Ukrainian company is showing a gadget that mutes your phone conversations to the rest of the world. Yaroslav Ramasko with HushMe says the device looks like headphones that cover your mouth.
If you wear this device like this, you can talk and nobody hears you. So you can use it in the open space office, you can use it in the train or bus, that you don't interfere other people.
Thanks to a small microphone inside the device, the person you're on the telephone with can hear you loud and clear. Jeremy Carlson with MarkIt says autonomous vehicles are a big item at this year's show in Vegas.
We do know that people want to move around freely, efficiently, on demand these days, and some people don't want to own cars.
A range of new and concept vehicles are on display at the show, from 3-wheeled commuter cars to self-driving buses. I'm Ed Donahue, AP Radio News.
Support our show by subscribing to the Thom Hartmann podcasts at thomhartmann.com/podcast. They're commercial free and you can listen anytime and any place you want.
Stop the madness. Keep it 100. The best talk show on the web is here on STMK Radio 100 with your hosts, Sean L., Let, and Tone the Stone. Come join us from 6 to 8 p.m. Mondays through Fridays. Stop the madness. Keep it 100 with live call-ins, heated discussions about current events, politics, national news, weather, and sports. Join our live online chat room and let your opinion show. Download our phone app. Stop the madness. Keep it 100 on STMK Radio 100. Come join us from 6 to 8 p.m. Mondays through Fridays. The best talk show on the web is here on STMK Radio 100. Call us at 1-866-484-7865. That's 1-866-484-STMK. Stop the madness. Keep it 100.
You're listening to STMK Radio 100.
Wait, hold on, brother. If you really want to know what's going on, listen to STMK Radio 100. They keep it real, and they stopping the madness.
This is Christina in Savannah. I listen to STMK Radio 100 on my way home from work. Every Thursday, they keep it 100.
You want to know how to stop the madness? Listen to STMK Radio 100 and keep it 100. You're listening to STMK Radio 100. Stop the madness.
And now back to John with the weather.
Yes, Andy. Tonight, a big storm. Storm this! Get the soccer offer from Pizza Hut and Pepsi. With every 2 medium pan Super Supreme, you get a real soccer ball and 4 cans of Pepsi for free. Yes, a real soccer ball and 4 cans of Pepsi for free. Yes, Pepsi the soccer ball. 4 cans. Don't miss the Pizza Hut and Pepsi soccer offer. With every 2 medium pan Super Supreme, you get a real soccer ball and 4 cans of Pepsi for free. What about the weather, Andy? Don't resist and call 19,000 now.
You've been tuned in to Stop the Madness, keeping it 100 on STMK Radio 100. And now back to your host one more time, Sean L., Let, and Tone the Stone.
This was right at the time when the technology changed in television. And this, as far as I know, this is the first time, something like that wasn't a planned event. It was actually carried live nationwide.
Yes, you do indeed know me. You have always known me. I'm that nigga you have hunted and feared night and day. I'm that nigga you have killed hundreds of my people in a vain hope of finding. I'm that nigga that is no longer just a hunted, robbed, and murdered. I'm the nigga that hunts you now. Yes, you know me. You know us all. You know me, I'm the wetback. You know me, I'm the crook, the broad, the servant, the stick. Yes, indeed, you know us all. And we know you, the oppressor, murderer, and robber. And you have hunted and robbed and exploited us all. Now we are the hunters that will give you no rest. And we will not compromise the freedom of our children. Death to the fascist insect that preys upon the life of the people.
Wow, welcome back to Stop the Madness. Keep it 100 on a free fall Thursday. In Studio 51 with me is Tone the Stone. We got Sax Man and we got John over here sitting with us. And everybody should know who that young man was that was just talking right there. Okay, and I'm going to go back to this as being for the people or the politicians that was watching and everything else. You have to talk to the people. And our kids is out of control. Now, let's talk about the social engineering of people, okay, and of our kids and our community. And we have a lot of things to talk about right there. First, let's go back to the H&M advertisement with the kid in the sweatshirt. You got that going on. And the mother checked in on that also. Now you got the billboards that's put up all over the city of Cleveland for abortions. That also was put up and thrown up there, and you had that going on. And then you had what was going on is the riot at the juvenile justice system of 12 kids, and 6 of them has murder charges on them. Now, this is serious stuff right here, people. We must talk about black-on-black crime. We must talk about what's happening into our neighborhoods, and we must hold people responsible. And Sax, man, you've been on this a long, long time. And when we start going back to social engineering people, we got to get away from the mainstream news and newspapers, places like Fox News and stuff, because that's what's dictating the way we think. And when you look at it, it started in the 1900s, the 1800s, what was the newspapers? We had newspapers telling everybody. Then in the 20s, it was the radio. Then in the 50s, TV came in. And then in the 60s, you had the assassination of Gerald Kennedy and the civil rights protests, and all that came up. And then in the 70s, you had Kent State and the shootout with the black nationalists and all that. And now in the 2000s, we got social media like Facebook, YouTube, and all that stuff going on. Now, that young man that said that video right there for everybody, I know John not old enough to know him, and I know Tony Stone don't have a clue, do you, Tone?
The Diamond Boy?
Yeah, the Diamond Boy don't know who that was.
I don't have the slightest clue.
Okay, people, that was Donald DeFreeze.
He sound like he got an afro.
Right. Donald DeFreeze, let me tell you, when you go into social engineering and the news media setting the thing, Donald DeFreeze was the only minority person in a group called the People's Army.
You know who that is, right, Tom?
No, Tom probably don't know that. Don't do him like that, Sex Man. The People's Army is the people who Patty Hearst claimed to kidnap.
It's coming. It's coming.
That's what I was finna say, but I didn't.
Now there was actually only 20 people in this group, and they did some horrendous crimes. They did bank robberies with automatic weapons. They committed murder, and they actually killed somebody also. But there was only one minority person, one brother in that group, and when he did that video. And they forced Patty Hearst's father to play that tape live on TV. Everybody had a picture of him, and he became the boogeyman. Okay? And that's all they showed across California was Donald DeFreeze's picture. And when the LAPD found them in that apartment building, when they only told them to come out and give up, that's what they meant. Come out right now and give up, okay? And LAPD got into the big shootout on national TV. And that's why that shootout occurred like that, because of the boogeyman was in there. And we couldn't let the boogeyman get back outside into the community. So when we start talking about social engineering, our people, our kids, we have to understand that with Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, YouTube, all up there, our kids has not been so disconnected from reality because now they no longer talk to each other. They text. Okay. They no longer go outside. They sit on the video games and stuff. And that's the biggest problem. And we have to come into the community. And John, I know you want to jump in here on this. What is the community going to do to set the path right for the crime that we're experiencing with our juveniles?
For one thing, you have to become more of a community again.
Come up a little bit. There you go.
We have to be more of a community again. The biggest thing now is that I see that I don't like is don't discipline my child.
Well, yeah, that's a misnomer right there too. But you know, when you start talking about becoming a community again, we got to go back to the start of this whole problem, which started back and I hate to say this because you know I love being a historian in 1663 when it came back to the education of the African, okay, and the breakdown of the class warfare right there. Because what you have to understand at that point in time, they started breaking the family down, taking the male away from the family, making the females be in control, and that went all the way down into the 60s. Okay, so with the males not there and the kids not being properly educated, but what we have to do now, we have to come back into the realm of educating our kids and supplementing the family and disciplining them and teach them discipline, because a kid learns from what he sees.
In my opinion, Sean, what you just said from the history from 1600s to now is continuing. It's the separation of family.
Right. Not only that, is a separation of our community. See, because all our politicians, and I'm going to say this about politicians, all our politicians will come on a show, will go to Voice of Radio, or will go to Oprah Winfrey show, or come on our show, Stop the Madness, whatever, and they tell you all this stuff that they're going to do for the community, and nobody sits there and asks them any tough questions. I'm looked at the 57 mayoral election. Man, you did an interview on the 57 mayoral election. I did not hear one person talk about our schools. I didn't hear them talk about the living conditions of our neighborhoods. I didn't hear them talk about no jobs for our neighborhoods. And I did not hear them talk about disciplining our kids, something that you brought up, okay? Because this week at the Juvenile Justice Center, they had a riot there. They had SWAT teams and police officers from all over the county responding to that location, okay? You had 24 kids, maybe 30 kids at the most. They just caused $250,000 worth of damage, okay? Who you think gonna pay for that? You people sitting in Rocky River? You people sitting in North Homestead? The taxpayers of Cuyahoga County. If you live in the county, you're going to pay for that. My problem is that everybody's talking about this H&M commercial, about this kid in the hoodie. Okay, everything we're in a pro-racial climate because that's the way it is. But I look at Facebook and see all the people talking about this H&M commercial. I look at all the people in the city of Cleveland talking about these billboards popping up for pro-abortion all over the city. Okay, I haven't heard one person talk about 24 juveniles, 12 of them with felonies, serious felonies, not one, 3 or 4 felonies, okay, and 5 of them have murder charges on them. They have already committed the heinous crime of murder.
Before they even 18 years old.
Before they 18 years old. So you got 5 kids in this juvenile justice system that has committed murder, rioting, and tearing up county property. Where are the activists at? Where are the black men at? If the police would have walked in
hold on, Sean. What are the activists supposed to do? These young thugs are already in custody. What are the activists supposed to do?
But you know what the activists supposed to do? I'm going to tell you what the activists supposed to do, Tony Stone, because the problem that we're having is the exact same thing what you just said. If the activists can go stand on the stairs of City Hall when a police officer kills black man,
that's right.
The activists can come
but
out.
Who are the activists going to shout out about? The jails for not keeping it the order that they're supposed to? Are they
you know
prisoners?
You know who they're going to shout out about? They're going to shout out to the mayors and the councilmen for not properly housing these 6 felons who committed murder and putting them with kids that could be rehab. If you put a murderer with a kid that could be rehab, that kid is not getting rehab.
Yeah.
Okay, that kid is becoming a part of the problem that murderer took care. Okay, those kids should have never been placed. That's where the activists should be at. The activists should be down at the mayor's office.
I thought you were saying they need to be talking to the community. Like it's the community. There's nothing they can do. They already in jail. What the community got to do with that?
The community comes back with the activists too, because if the community gets involved beforehand, okay, it's just like. I'm going to say this, Tony Stone. You know, I always get you, come to you with this, okay? Is that on a free fall Thursday, this is the way it is. The activists, if they can go celebrate a drug dealer that got killed and let Blooms go, they can go on that corner and protest and shut down that bar. They can go on that corner and make the police come on that corner and run the drug dealers off that corner. They can come on that corner at the mayor's house and stay at the mayor's house until the mayor put police officers so my mother or my sister can walk the streets without getting carjacked. Okay, there's a lot of things that the activists could do that they're not doing. Releasing Blooms for drug dealers,
right?
Okay, is only causing the problem more, okay? Because when young kids, let me tell you something, Tom, when I was a kid, okay? And I'm going to go back to this, and we just talked about being in Glenville, and I'm going to tell you something, Tom. Young kids do 3 things. They learn from their parents what's right or wrong. When they get into school, they know they're supposed to do their schoolwork. But if John's sitting over there, and John's the joker of the class, and everybody like John, and John's not doing what he was supposed to do, guess what the class is going to do? They're not going to take their work serious. They're going to follow John, okay? At that point in time, the community, okay, I'm talking about the people in the schools because they ain't in there with your kid, has to step in. And in my era, we had a program for John. They separated John from the good kids and the kids that wanted to learn, okay, and put John in a special school, okay.
And what did that do for John?
Okay.
How did that help John?
Okay, but see, this is the problem right here, Tom.
Can I answer it?
Wait a minute.
That's true what he's saying, though.
How does it help John? But see, it gives, if John has a special problem, you can put special people there with John and help the problem. But if John causes a problem and disrupting everybody,
if one disrupts 20,
right, then you
who
lose
suffers
20.
the most, the 1 or the 20?
So if you got a classroom full of disruptors, how are they being helped?
Okay,
they disrupting together.
But you have to
they forming a disruptive coalition.
No. Sean mentioned in his day, which means in my day.
But let me say
we
this.
didn't have it like that. So in your day, you got 20 disruptors.
I keep hearing this. This is where I disagree with y'all. Y'all keep hearing. Y'all keep saying this. My day. It's the same stuff has been going on since the beginning of time.
No.
The same stuff has been going on from the beginning of time.
No, sorry,
we had this conversation all the time.
That's not true. I gotta agree with that.
Listen.
We had programs, man, that kept us in line, dude. I don't have none.
Wait a minute, Zach.
So you telling me bad kids just started in the last 20, 30 years? They've always existed.
No, for one, we got corporal punishment.
There you go.
They took that out. Now I could say at least
when they took
once
that
a
out,
month,
that was it.
Somebody, mother or father, would be up in there getting in their ass.
And not only that, Tom.
Okay, but what does that mean? What does that have to do?
No.
What does that have to do?
They will call the police now.
Let me ask you a question.
But what does that have to do with the kids? Is the real rotten apples, the murderers, but when they're teenagers? They've been around. It's not like these kids, these teenagers that are killers. It's not like y'all not making no sense. It's not like they didn't exist 20 years ago.
They did.
It was teenage killers 100 years ago.
You're correct. But listen, the difference was this, Tom. This is the difference between.
That's how we handle it.
It's the difference what's happening right now. This is the difference from what happened right now to what happened back then. In the early 60s, 70s, 80s, if you committed a carjacking, you went to jail. They didn't smack your hand and send you back home to mama. The 6 of the 5 kids, the 12 kids in juvenile system right now, one has 7 serious felonies. 7 serious felonies. How did he go from carjacking, burglary
to 7?
Felonious assault. Now I'm going to tell you
the
something.
system failed him.
Where was the discipline?
After he got that first felony, how old is this kid?
Where was the discipline?
After he got
there
the
was
first,
no discipline.
After he got the first felony, Sachs, how was he rehabbed after the first felony?
You want me to answer
a 14, 15-year-old kid.
You want me to answer?
Yes. Or I want you to try to answer.
There was no discipline in that boy's life from the beginning.
Right.
Okay, obviously, because he's a convicted felon at 15 years
why,
old.
Why is there no discipline?
But not only that, Tone. Wait a minute, hold on.
I'm gonna answer that question.
Wait a minute, Sachs, man. Now the problem is that he wasn't dealt with by the system the first time.
That's what I'm saying.
And the reason he wasn't dealt with by the system the first time is because of the community. The community is not asking the court systems to deal with these juveniles accordingly. They're good boys. They want lawsuits. Okay, I'm going to tell you what should happen, and I'm going to be straightforward. And John, I know everybody looking for this. You had a female activist walk out of a place, and 2-3 kids walked up on her with a gun out of Garden Valley trying to rob her. Okay, this is a serious problem. Okay, if the community don't take control of this problem, the police can't take control of the problem because it's going to be tragic anyway. But what's going to happen is Johnny or one of these kids is going to run up on the wrong person, okay, and that person's going to take care of the problem.
Yeah.
And to your thing is this: if a kid is out here robbing and stealing, he has to be removed from the community. I don't care about rehab.
Yes.
It's not about rehab. See, this is the problem with young guys like you, Tony Stone. I'm gonna bring this around. You want to rehab somebody, okay? It's like if my pit bull
I don't understand where you got that from.
If my pit bull bites,
I'm a firm believer, and everybody has to learn the lesson on their own.
Right. If my pit bull bites my son or my kid when he walks out that door, there is no rehabbing. He has to be removed from the premises. And being removed from the premises might mean that we might have to put him down. I'm gonna keep it real. I'm gonna keep it real right here with you.
Are you making that correlation to a teenage kid?
I'm making a correlation to anybody, a human being, a kid. If he is committing murder, you have to remove him from society.
Exactly.
And removing him from society is not something saying that we're going to put him back in 5 years. We're going to put him back in 20 years. Okay? We have to remove him with the ideas that we're going to keep him out of society to keep society safe.
You saying forever?
Especially if you got
I don't
7
agree with
felonies.
that. I don't agree
if
with
you
that.
got 7 priors.
See, Tony, you know why you don't agree with it? Because you
saying people, you making it seem like people can't change.
I didn't say people can't change.
7 priors?
I said if he commit murder.
That's the life he lived.
Wait a minute. Do you know?
Maybe if he was taken out of the system, maybe if he was taken away from the system for long enough and given direction, so he didn't have to come back and commit 6 more felonies, maybe we wouldn't have that problem.
I said that
but he kept getting sent right back out to the life he was living. Of course he going to keep doing that.
But Tony Stone, that's water under the bridge now. Okay?
Not for him.
Wait a minute.
That's his life.
Our kids are out here right now. Those 5 kids that committed murder will be gone for 30, 40 years. You got to lock them up.
That's removing them right
there is no rehab.
And I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with that. I'm saying
it's right now.
But you made it sound like they should disappear forever.
Well, let me tell you this.
If we can find an island.
If you're committing murder, Tone, now I'm going to tell you this right now. If you're committing murder.
We all human beings. We all human beings. Anybody can make a mistake.
Yes.
Anybody can make a mistake.
7 times?
Anybody can lose their senses in a fit of rage and kill somebody.
7 times?
And they deserve to disappear for the rest of their life?
Well, they have to be removed from society
7 times.
And I'm gonna say this, and everybody don't want to like Tone Stone. You see how Tone, and I love that vigority. But see, Tone, the problem is that society is a fragile piece of glass. Okay. And you have to understand this.
And it's a dangerous place too.
Right.
These teenagers ain't the only people killing in the world.
Wait a minute.
There's killing going on all over the world by some real serious people.
We're not talking about
serious people who doing far worse stuff than these kids in the streets is doing.
But you know what? Do you know why they get away with doing it?
Because they're sanctioned to do it.
Well, you know why we're in wars?
Because they do it under the guise of the government and power.
But you know why we're in wars? It's because people do not take pride and take their government. So when you're not participating in government, you can't complain about government.
I'm not complaining.
Okay.
I served the Army. I served my country in the Army, and I also
It's
ran
not-
around in
wait a
these
minute,
streets.
it's not
I'm saying I
serving.
understand. I understand
If you
these
commit
things.
murder, you have to be removed from society.
But that's that's not always the case. That's not always the case.
Ain't nobody committing murder and getting probation.
Well, no, some
That's not always
people, some people are when you look at this with kids, okay, and I'm gonna go back into this because this is something very serious and sexual. When you look at this with kids, if a kid is stealing out of store, okay, and you take him home to his parents, and his parents don't do anything.
They yell at you.
Well, not only that, sex man, we ain't going to go into that. But what I'm saying is that when this happens, he stops from stealing from bubble gum, and now he's getting in stolen cars, going for a ride, and he keeps graduating, and he graduates until he does the ultimate. Those 5 kids walking down the street on Buckeye was robbing people. They have already had 3 gun charges on them.
Nice to work right there. My first 10 years.
Wait,
cutting hair on-
that shooting on 156, they knew each other.
But not only that, because everybody who commit the crimes know each other, okay?
knew each other.
In your community, you have to understand, we did that show about the guns, but what I'm saying is that when we smack a kid on the hand and we do not properly discipline him and let him steal the bubble gum, he's going to graduate to stealing cars. When he doesn't go to jail for stealing car,
It's
the,
true.
The classic example. The classic
man.
example.
It's true.
You know,
No,
you know
no,
why I'm
no.
gonna say this, Tom?
Yeah.
You know why, Tom?
Because-
No, here, wait,
Because
hold
I
on.
know all of y'all know from experience
Here
that
go fact. Here go stats right here. Let me read it to you. Right here.
I can give him. lots
2
of
weeks
stats.
ago, wait a minute.
I bet you can
Hold up,
name
hold up.
100
Wait,
thieving
wait,
cops
wait,
that you
wait.
that you
We not
served
talking-
with
wait,
and
we
during
not
on your
talking about
career.
cops. See,
Thieves
see,
that grew up and went on to be law enforcement
no,
officers.
Wait a minute. See, Tone. This
Thieves.
No, see,
See,
Tone.
you making a real big stretch when you say
no.
that
This the problem
thief
right here.
turns
Tone.
into a murderer.
No, this the problem right here.
All right.
We're talking about oranges. Now
And-
you
and
want to
apples.
deflect this and come back over.
No,
and
you said it. You said a thief is gonna grow into a murderer.
Now let me explain this to you.
Not all, but
2 weeks ago, a female, 18, 3 males, 14, 15, robbed a priest for AIDS.
Tried to.
Now, look at their records. And if you go into every juvenile record sitting down in juvenile detention center right now,
It's multiple.
the record continues to roll.
It's
And this is
multiple.
fact. This is not fiction. This is fact.
It's
The girl, first time in trouble sitting in a stolen car. Don't know what's going on. The two 15-year-old boys. 3 cases of aggravated robbery, home invasion, and 1 felonious assault shooting. That did not start overnight. That happens because they didn't get dealt with for stealing the bubble gum. They went to stolen cars. And
He's using the bubble gum as a-
eventually Tone the Stone. What
I just don't
happens
agree.
when you don't deal with these kids? Okay, whether you agree or not.
Some people just can't deal with it. You can send them to juvenile detention,
okay.
and they can come
What-
back
what-
and
okay.
they
And
make
what-
the decision
and-
for themselves that
what
I'm gonna
did-
live this
okay,
life.
what did I
Some
just-
people make that
and what
decision.
did I just say?
And what did
What-
I just say? That everybody has to learn
No,
for themselves.
but
You
what-
have to make the decision for yourself.
What did I say? As
the life you're going to live.
Wait a minute. What did I say as the person sitting in controlling the community? If
The
that's,
community don't have no control over everybody.
They do. That's
you
your
can
bet.
preach
What-
and you can be an activist all you
who
want.
you
If
think
somebody
took the
want to
law?
be a bank robber because they think that's the best way they're gonna get some money, if
They
that's
gonna
the
rob the
decision they
bank.
make, that's on
They
them.
gonna rob the bank.
That's on them.
But you don't turn from being a good guy all your life to want to switch to bank
But-
robbery
Some people
because
do.
you having it
But
hard.
Some people do.
You
Some
don't
people
do it
do.
like
But
that.
Sax
You
Man-
have to have
Some
a
people
taste
do.
of it.
Sax
Some
Man-
people
Sax
do.
Man-
It's been
Sax Man.
documented.
I give Tone that.
All right.
That people do that. But let me tell you something, Tone. When you do that, you
You
got
get
to
caught, you pay the
No,
consequences.
You got to be removed from society. And I even go to a step further and make this very controversial. If you commit murder, if you take somebody's life, they should take you out and put you on a wall. I don't care if you're 14 years old
I
and
disagree.
in yours.
I disagree.
I'm telling you.
I totally disagree.
I take it very controversial.
I totally disagree.
I take it very
14-year-old might
controversial.
kill might be your wife, your brother, your sister.
If you take
And that would be a sad. That would be a tragedy.
Don't.
But he's a 14-year-old kid.
I wouldn't care if he was
14-year-old
13.
kid. I
I
mean,
wouldn't care if he was 7. If you take a life In China, let me tell you what they do.
China, can I ask you a question? Can I ask you a question? And you might not want to answer this. Have you ever killed somebody in the line of duty during your career?
There's a difference between.
It's not. What's the difference?
It is a difference.
What's the difference? Let me tell you the difference.
What's the difference?
Let me tell you the difference. When you society, you three sitting here, society, when you installed on me because you're gonna need you need a bad guy.
I didn't install you.
No,
I didn't vote you into the office. I didn't vote you to be a police officer. I didn't vote you into the law enforcement department of law.
Are you a member of society?
I didn't vote you to be a police officer.
But wait, it's hypothetical.
I didn't have any judgment in that decision making process.
Stop right
so
there.
don't say I instilled that trust in you. And I know you were a great cop. I'm just saying, you can't use those words with me. I didn't choose you to be a police officer.
Stop right there. Stop right there. Are you a member of society?
Definitely.
Okay, so whether you vote for or not, you go by the society norms. Okay? Stop right there. Unless you are a brother like Mr. Black from another planet, and we got something for that too. Okay, but you are a member of society. You go by society rules. You go by society laws.
Okay.
You wake up every morning and go work, pay your taxes, your rent, and you follow what society says the norms of living in society is.
Okay.
Then that's it.
What's that got to do with you shooting somebody?
Because now, if you let me go down the line for you, when society sets the laws and the norms, you need a bad person. Now, I'm going to say this. There's a lot of bad people in this world. And this is an old quote from a movie with the devil. The only person that really fights with the devil is the devil himself. Okay? So, either you're going to do it when you went to war, when society said, Tone, we want you to go to war and fight for our rights.
We want you to deploy. That's right.
What
you gonna do?
Wait a minute, Sack. Get up off him. You went. You went to war and you fought and you killed. Society gave you that right to do that.
That's right.
Okay. Society gave you that right as a soldier.
No. Hold on. So you saying whether you right or wrong, if you wearing a uniform, your killing don't make no difference.
When you went to
there's
war,
there's no consequences for your killing. Even the eyes of the Lord that I know you believe in. There's no. You saying because you wear a uniform that you're good.
Tone. The Lord told you not to commit murder.
That's what it sounded like you just said.
No, but what you're saying, Tone.
And I said this on the show before. When I was in the Army, I used to sit around guys who would sit around and say, "Man, I ain't killed nobody in a year. I can't wait."
Okay.
Now that's not right. Okay. That's not right.
But Tone,
and it's probably some police officers like that too. So you can't say just because you serve the law because you work for the government that you got the right to kill.
Tone, you're putting an argument forth that you're losing.
No, that's what you just said.
Tone, I want to hear what
you're losing because you're trying to say that when society put somebody in a law enforcement position and he's performing his duties, he's wrong if he takes a life.
That's not what I said. I just asked you if you did. That's what you said. I never said no such thing.
No, you said if you wear a uniform,
I said even if they're dead wrong, does that make them right? Because society entrusted them.
Tone, society. See, this is the problem with everybody sitting at the table. Now I'm going to have to say this, bro. Come on. Because when we talk, okay, don't put hyperboles on it. If a police officer is wrong when he does something, society has rules to deal with him.
Come on, but how many times have we sat in this studio and come to the conclusion that all kind of police officers have gotten away with murder or whatever the case may be?
That may be true too.
So what you're saying is not the truth. Then that's what I'm trying to say.
But society let them go. You see, this is the problem. With
So going back to your original point, a 14-year-old to kill somebody. A society should decide if he gets sent away for life. And as of right now, society doesn't think that's right. Society says you will be punished for your crime accordingly, and then you have the right to rehabilitate yourself.
Back in biblical days, you would get stoned for being disrespectful to your parents.
Thank you.
You get stoned in some parts of this world today for some things.
For doing what?
Who stoned you?
If you go to the Middle East, people get stoned to death to this day. People get their heads.
We talking about the United States, Tone.
He was talking about the biblical days. This ain't the biblical days.
See, wait a minute, hold on, y'all. Hold on. See, Tone. See, Tone. This is.
I'm saying we so far from that, but like what he said,
right.
I mean, I can't say I 100% agree with it, but I mean, 100% disagree with it.
See, this is
everybody got their opinion.
Wait a minute. No.
I disagree. I disagree.
This is the problem right here. We don't, since Donald Trump, nobody wanted to live up under their norms. Okay, and the problem is we're accepting bad behavior, and we're accepting our kids committing murder, and we're accepting things happening.
Now, Tone, how many times have you heard me say that?
Wait a minute, Sax, man. Hold a minute. So when
I think I'm just missing the point.
You ain't lying. You're missing the point.
Where are we accepting our kids committing murder? They're locked up. They're locked up.
They're not all locked up, Tone.
Because if they get caught, they get locked up. How are we accepting our kids committing murder?
Let me show you the difference, Tone. Let me show you the difference, okay? And this is the problem with society and our communities. First of all, our kids drop out of school first in the 6th grade.
High rate. Oh
okay,
my God.
And they're allowed to walk the streets. They're allowed to commit the crimes. So that's the start right there. Then we take the kids because we don't want to pay for them. It goes back to, John, you probably remember this, when we had hospitals for mentally ill people. And
Fairhill.
And they didn't want to pay for these people to be in the hospital. They didn't want to pay their taxes. So they closed all the mental hospitals and threw them out on the street. Okay, this is the problem with our juvenile justice system right now, Tone, is that these kids are committing multiple crimes and nobody's dealing with them. And that's the problem that we having right now, because when we do not deal with our kids committing these crimes, okay, we're allowing them to commit murder.
Sean, I don't believe that Tone knows how
No, he knows. He knows. No, I'm not gonna say that. I believe
the juvenile system, the way it's set up now.
I just don't agree with your philosophy.
Wait.
That's
listen,
all it is to it.
Listen.
Well,
I turned down the position to work at the juvenile downtown.
Well, you can't work there. I wouldn't work there.
I couldn't because, number one.
So hold up, you wouldn't work there.
Listen, Tone.
I already know what you're gonna say. You saying you wouldn't work there, but then you saying that these kids need to be disciplined.
No.
But you won't. You won't do the job yourself.
I'm gonna explain to you why.
You know why you wouldn't work there?
Come on, man.
Listen,
man.
Let me explain to you why.
Come on,
Let me explain to you why. A lot of my friends who was down there before I was applying aren't there no more because they're saying where I am. I'm raised with discipline. That program won't allow you to discipline those kids.
I wouldn't work there either. Then, if you're not gonna allow me to discipline,
you cannot discipline them. You can't put your hands on them. You can't speak to them in a harsh way. They press charges. You are fired.
You want to allow?
You're gone.
You want to allow?
And wait, they're in there for disciplinary action, but you can't give them discipline.
So you want to beat their ass?
No, hold on, Tone.
No, Tone. See, you taking it to a new level.
That's what he said. He said like you can't put your hands on them. That's what this man just said.
You can't grab them and take them into a room, sit them down. You can't touch them.
See, Tone.
You got to talk to them.
You can't keep raising the bar.
You got to talk to them.
See, Tone. Was talk respect.
This is a program that I know of.
Let me say one thing.
Hold on.
Back when I was in school, okay, a teacher would snatch you up.
Oh yeah.
But they weren't allowed to. But
and the teacher put some wood on you.
Oh, yeah. Swartz like a mother.
Oh, they got stitched up a couple times.
Oh, yeah.
But what I'm saying is.
Okay, so John, I don't want to put your.
Wait,
hold on, Tone. Pump your brakes for a minute.
I'm not going to run home. Who can I run to and tell somebody that I was stitched by a teacher? What happened?
Can I ask you a question?
I've been disrespectful.
Can I ask you a question? Now, you experienced that, right?
Yeah.
Did that stop you from going out to the streets and getting into trouble?
Stop me from being disrespectful?
We're not talking about disrespect. We're talking about
well,
getting in trouble. We talking about
that's a start.
I'm saying first of all,
y'all changing the conversation as we go, man.
No, it did not. But certain things I wouldn't do. It's like I might go to my parents and call them. And I was trying to make a little money, but certain things I'm not gonna do.
Right, what forced the kids out into the street to make the money? Let's keep it for real. Kids are out there in the streets for food.
Some of them are starving. That's right.
Wait.
Some of them are just bad kids.
That's right.
Some of them are just bad kids.
But you don't know until you interact with them.
Right.
Okay.
And you got to handle each one accordingly.
And by that time, it might be too late.
But you don't know until you interact with them. This is where the community see. This is the problem right here. We keep lowering and putting the bar up every time we get somewhere to sit down. Okay. See, when I say they have to be dealt with and removed from the community, next person like you or somebody want to say, Okay, well, that's too harsh. That's why this is how this started. Because when it came
in
to
the 80s,
wait a minute, when it came to disciplining disciplining kids, the child abuse law was actually for the parents that was overstepping their bounds. It wasn't supposed to be applied to my mother who whooped me or disciplined me in front of the schools and all that. That was the start of it, okay? And when we allowed them to move the bar, and when we took the discipline from the kids.
From the schools and from the homes.
Now, see, let me tell you this. When you stole the car, you got sent to reform school for 6 months.
After you got your ass whooped.
Okay. Now, when you went to reform school, the neighborhood and the community is safe. And I don't care if you're an adult. I don't care if you're a juvenile. I don't care how it goes around. If you are a threat to the community, you have to be removed from the community.
I know some cats wouldn't even graduate and they want to send them to the DH.
Right. And let me say this, Tone, before you
and
move
they
the bar.
had they had truancy laws back in
I
our
just
days.
think y'all trying to make it too simple,
no,
man. Because even the bad kid that got sent away to the reform school, if he was just a badass dude, the reform school wasn't going to change him in the slightest.
And then he
was going to lead the reform school. He was going to go to prison. He was going to come home from prison. He was going to keep repeating the cycle until he decided for himself that, man, I'm done with this. That I'm done with this.
You're 100% right. He got tired
Right.
of
And if you beat his ass, that might have just made him more mad and more wild.
You don't beat him. You don't beat him, Tone.
I'm talking about the discipline that y'all talking about, the getting whooped and stuff like that.
I don't believe
that might just make a dude more wild.
I don't believe in that.
That's the type of person he is.
I believe you deal with him, and I said this before when I said you deal with him. You remove him from society. California had the 3 strikes you out.
Yep.
You hit that 3rd strike, you spend the rest of your life behind the bars.
Ass out.
Okay? And when you spend your rest of your life behind bars, society don't have to worry about you. And
that's after 3 strikes.
And if we have to, wait a minute.
What about the kid with the 7 strikes?
Right. And if we have to go back to the old days, like he was saying about being stoned, and I'm gonna say this, back in the 1700s, okay, and I'm just gonna be correct with you. If you stole my horse, you got hung.
Yep, horse thieves.
Okay, so don't say that society has not had this outlook before. Okay,
didn't say that.
Don't say that every.
I said we live in a dangerous society.
Right,
but back in the day, we handle shit not straight third.
But Saxman, we have dangerous people in dangerous society, and you have to deal with dangerous people.
Now.
Sometimes those dangerous people are children. They need to be. Maybe they just need some direction.
Why they dangerous though?
But
they got influence somehow.
Because you ain't get to them in time, Sax. That's why they dangerous.
Tone, this is the problem, Tone, and this is what I want to say right here, and to the audience and everybody. See, we have dangerous people in society. We have kids that are dangerous. We got adults that's dangerous. Everybody has a problem. Some people can be rehabbed from their problem. Some people can't be rehabbed from their problem. When a person walks around with a gun and takes a life, he has to be removed from society.
He can't be rehabbed.
I agree. I never disagree with you. I just said not forever. That's all I said.
The only way he can be
if
rehabbed,
he's an adult,
that goes on each individual case.
But Tone, put the tone. Let me say that. If he's an adult, okay, let's go to the adult system. Okay, an adult that commit a murder, okay, go do 6, 7, 8 years, come back out. Society hasn't rehabbed him. See.
I mean,
let me say what I
said.
This is the problem with putting people in jail, because we house more people in jail than any country in the world.
You ain't lying.
Okay. And we are not training them, rehabbing them, teaching them to come back into society. So all we're doing is prolonging the problem we're going to have with this person.
That has a lot to do with the individual, like he just said.
Right, but just think about this. When a person come out of prison, okay, and this is a lot of cases, okay, he's not trained to come for a job.
That's on him, though.
But he may not even get a job.
They might not even offer that program for him.
Okay, he might not even get a job because he has a felony. He has no housing. Okay.
No education.
Unless he has a family to bring him on that support, he's put right back out into the streets. And the first thing of the streets is, like Tony Stone said, I have to give Tony Stone that, is self-survival. Okay? And that's the rules of the jungle.
So what other way he know how to survive? Is what got him in the first place.
Get back into the game.
Well, that's true, but okay, me, because I am an ex-felon, and sometimes I'm gonna say at Marion, because I've been in school before too. It was like a college.
But what was your support system?
Yeah,
I had a strong support system.
Okay, now go ahead. Tell me about your support system. I want to. You want to talk.
A strong support system.
What was the support system? Was it?
Even your man Charles Davis.
Right. Well, okay. So
now he's not even blood, but I had a very strong support system.
So was your support? Where did your support system start? Did it start inside of a prison?
No, from day one. I should never been in prison.
Okay, but I'm talking about.
I never went hungry a day in my life.
Okay, but what I'm talking about, when you got in trouble. We ain't gonna talk about why you got in trouble.
Okay.
But when you got in trouble and you went. Okay, what did the state offer you?
A lot of stuff.
Okay, so you reached the state gave you the stuff and you started in their programs.
No, I didn't have to enter the program. So I already went to barber school previous.
Okay.
So I had a career when I came back out. You see what I'm saying?
Okay, so you had a chance to get money.
But I seen a lot of cats down there said, I'm tired of this. This is my first time here, my third time, whatever. People were going to school.
Okay, that's most prisoners do come out. I'm gonna say this because I had some on the show. Most prisoners and Tone Stone. This is why I went to the juvenile system versus the
adult system.
The adult system.
Yeah, that's two different.
Because most adults who go in, just like you said, realize this isn't working and I got to do something. But this may be on their third stint. This may be on their second stint.
True.
Okay,
Sean,
because
can I say this?
Wait, hold on a second.
Right.
Cut down for a minute. See, when an adult goes to prison, okay, on his first stint, he may come out and get back in the game because he didn't accept what was going on. You understand what I'm saying?
True that.
He went to games and stuff. Now, the second time he's in there, he may have that opinion, hey, I don't want to do this no more. I want to do something else and get a trade or get his law degree because most prisoners are the best lawyers for their cases, okay? They're the one who's filing their appeals and going on where police officers made mistakes and challenges and stuff.
Yeah.
I've been in court with some prisoners that came out with some jailhouse lawyers, they call them, who won a lot of cases because from sitting there learning the law. And this is what I'm trying to tell everybody right here. If you know the law, then you can apply the law. You was a barber, okay? If you was a barber, then you know how to cut hair. You know the basics of starting cutting hair, okay?
Yes, sir.
If I didn't have that skill, then I couldn't do it. So I have to come out of the joint and go into the halfway house, okay? And I have to try to get a skill.
Look like you've been cutting the tones
Now,
here.
now the problem is that they run into, and I talk to a lot of ex-felons, and matter of fact, we're gonna have some. We had some on the shows back before. Was that when they came into rehab, they got victimized by the same people in the system that was supposed to be trying to help them come out. Like when they got a job, because they was a felon, the guy was making them pay for working the job.
Yeah.
Okay.
Stuff like that goes on.
Right. I know this because they came on the show and told me about this. Second thing is that when they come into the community and they get released back into the community, there's nothing there for them. Okay, and this is what I'm talking about when I come back. You have to be very good when you're in a halfway house to get into the programs, to go to school to get education, get into the workforce programs and all that. Most of them try that, but then they get kicked down or they get stopped or they can't do it because they have a record. Okay, so you understand what I'm saying when I'm telling you this, right? You understand where I'm coming.
A lot of has to
move it just a little bit.
A lot of it has to do with the individual, though.
Well, I agree with that. Everything on this earth is individual.
And even the guards give you, if you come down there, you trying to just lift weights and kick it, they don't respect that. They will give you more respect. They see you down there trying,
right?
Being respectful. Try to get in the programs. They have a lot of programs.
Right, but you know why? You know why most of them go down and try to lift weights and get together? Because that's their survival. See,
well, you know what?
They ain't trying to do nothing else though.
Well, you know what? No,
it's hard in jail. I had felons come in and tell me that it's a dog world in there. Now I used to work the jail right here in Cleveland. Okay, and I know how it is when somebody sees somebody weak or somebody thinks somebody's weak, and some people have to fight every day. Okay, so when you in this environment, and I've been locked up before. I'm gonna say I've been locked up a lot, but I was able to go home at the end of the day. Okay, when you're not able to go home at the end of the day, when you are being looked at as a sex object, we just played. Remember the guy that was on the show and he was talking about booty. And he did the video about the guys sagging their pants. Okay, and he says when you sagging your pants in prison,
that's an indication
that's
that
an indication
I want some, I'm gay,
right.
I'm funny.
And he told me about how hard it was in prison. So, but what I'm saying is, for our activists and our churches and the people in the community, we have to deal with the people that's committing the crimes, and then we have to deal with the people that's coming out from committing the crimes. And Tony Stone is right for some things, but like I said, that if a kid is committing murder and have 2-3 murders on them, they got to be removed from society.
It's hard
to
deal with.
This all I have to say.
Rehab it.
This all I have to say, fellas, and for everybody listening and all the youngsters in the community, follow me. I'll never lead you wrong.
Oh my God.
Well, but this one thing I like about that, Tone, because you know why? Our young people. I went to a panel.
But I'm serious though.
Wait a minute. I went to a panel.
I received that.
Wait a minute. I went to a
Somebody
panel.
live a child
Right.
wrong either.
I sit on a panel last month on violence in the community in the city of Cleveland. There was a panel of 6 activists. Okay, I'm not gonna call the activists out because one millennial like Tony Stone stepped up. Yeah,
I'm not leaving a millennial.
One millennial like Tony Stone.
He part of
What's the cutoff for millennial?
Don't worry about it. You still the diamond boy. You will always be a millennial as long as you don't stop the bad.
Just because I'm the youngest one on the panel, I'm the millennial.
Millennial boy.
So they asked one question to the activists, which really put them in a stop mode. I was supposed to be the last one to go up because we was talking about violence in the community, and then they went to the activists to go up, talk about police violence and all this, and they put me on the back end. And the one guy asked the activists after the third one got up, he said, y'all been doing this for 15, 30 years, and y'all talk about this and that. Tell me one thing that has changed. And that drew silence and made them all sit down. Okay, because you know why? Nothing has changed that has been going on. We have lost a lot, okay? Things that we gained, we're losing. Things that should have been done has been not being done. And that's when they threw me up in front of them. And that's when I told the guy, I can tell you what we lost. I can tell you how our kids are in trouble. I can tell you how our kids are doing adult crimes and being incarcerated worse than the school to prison pipeline. And this is the whole problem when you look at this, the school to prison pipeline, okay? Our kids are dropping out in the 5th and 6th grade. If a boy or a girl drops out in the 5th or 6th grade, there's only 2 things that's going to happen if they make it to their 18th birthday, okay? Is they're either going to get incarcerated or they're going to get pregnant, okay? The billboards is going up. I know why they targeted our community for the billboards and all that other stuff. We allow people with racist attitude to step out of the closet, okay, and to make it normal, okay? We allow that. Our ancestors right now are turning over. This problem with racism and police misconduct.
We elected their leader.
Well, I'm not going to talk about Trump because see, Sax man.
Look at Tone like, yeah, he wanted to say it.
See, Sax man, when you go to Trump, okay, and you try to blame Trump is a figurehead. I don't care who the president. Barack Obama was the president in black, and we still had the same problem in the black community and the same crime. Okay, so let's get off the issue of 45 because see, 45 is a distraction.
Yeah.
Okay, and he's a distraction for everything that's happening right now. Voters, our millennials and them should be talking about voting, registering, teaching them how to vote, teaching them to put the people, because if the Supreme Court rules against the state, rules for the state of Ohio, okay, guess what? That's going to affect every election in America, from the dog catcher to the school board to your councilman, all the way down. And the community has to step up, okay? It's like if you need your lights paid, if you don't have no money, somebody has to loan you the money or help you, okay? The community has to step in. And this is the problem right here. Tony Stone is right. Our kids need to be rehabbed, but the problem is the community has to step in and draw the line, telling our elected officials, this is what we want to do. And you know where we was at, Tone? and I said this, the mass incarceration. In 1980, when the crack epidemic went, the community went to Bill Clinton and said, we tired of the killing.
Yep.
We tired of the thing. And what happened out of that? Mass incarceration. The police came in there like an army.
More prisons.
Clean up the streets. Everybody got packed into prison.
See, but the catch-22 is the same community now is going back and complaining about those drug laws.
But wait a minute. But guess
complaining
what?
About those laws
that's true. That's true too. But guess what's happening now? The same community, that was complaining last year and the year before about the drug laws and about the police are now complaining about the little kids walking down the street with pistols and AK-47s.
They always gonna complain about something.
Okay, so if the community doesn't take a stand, okay, bullets have no names. A kid with an AK-47 is like me flying a 747.
That was shooting at 150.
Something's coming down, okay? Okay, you have to look at this. John, you're a businessman in Euclid. Are you more scared of police, or are you scared of somebody walking in there shooting up your barbershop trying to rob you?
To be honest about both.
Okay,
equally both.
I can accept that.
Yeah, equally both.
So they're on an equal level.
Yeah, I mean, especially Euclid police.
Yeah.
Well,
to be honest.
And
And
people,
that's only because of their views of how they want to police their city.
Exactly.
Well, I go back to society again. Our inner city suburb rings used to do the broken window policing policies.
Yeah, that's how it was.
Okay, and that was to keep people who don't look like them out of the suburbs.
They still operate in the same way.
But that's the only way they know.
Oh yeah, they up in East Lake and all.
They still operate in the same way.
Right, but that's the only way they know sex, man, because that's the way it is. And when you go to 45, like you like to do, when you make this normal. See, all this started back in 2000, and I'm going to say this, Tone, again. I'm going to stay on the activists and the mayors and the politicians, because in 2000, when the alarm bells was ringing, when the courts were Bush and them put the people in the courts and in the positions to start overturning our dissent degrees, our equal voting laws, all those laws. That was when the alarm bells was ringing, because you're talking about right now. We went back, and I just want to read this statistic right here, and this is a staggering statistic right here. And this is a police force right here in Northeast Ohio. Everybody should know who I'm talking about, but I'm not going to call it. Out of 575 police officers hired, 56 blacks. Out of the 56 blacks, only 31 males. Now think about that. Out of 576, 31 black males. Okay? Put them all in a room of 14 or 28 a shift. What do you have police in your community? Who looks and value the same thing you do? You have to ask these questions. These questions was asked in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s by Fannie Lewis, Lonnie Burton, Carl Stokes, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Tony Stone, the little Malcolm X right there. So that's why I love him, okay? By any means necessary. So when you do this, okay, and you go into that area, and you go into the outer ring suburbs, and we got statistics of outer ring suburbs, when you only have 20% minorities living in the suburbs, it doesn't affect what their police department look like. Because if you live in that suburb, whether you're a minority or not, the police are not going to enforce the law the same on you. Okay, you know why? Because that's how they get their pay raises, and that's how the chief and the mayor keeps their job. Okay? But if you're traveling through that suburb, that's where you're going to have the problem there.
Well, see, the city of Euclid didn't get diverse until around the
late
city,
80s. Wait a minute. The city of Euclid is not diverse, okay? Because I can tell you this. I know when the city of Euclid hired its first black police officer.
And that was Sawyer.
And he didn't make it through past probation. They had it rigged for him to lose his job, okay? So the problem with the city of Euclid is, yes, you have the city of Euclid almost 60% black, okay, or 40. I go 45% black. I can't find my sheet right now. If I find my sheet, I'll tell you what the.
It wasn't like that until around the mid.
Well, it doesn't make a difference. What
Actually, and most of the blacks stayed in the apartment.
Right. It doesn't make a difference,
because that used to be a community for the white folks to retire, live amongst themselves, safe away from the black folks.
But Sax, man,
blacks have moved out there because KND brought up all those apartment buildings
on
Lakeshore and started putting CMHA folks in there, low income people, and black folks came from East Cleveland. Moved out there and started living there. Because my brother is about to retire from there. He's been there for
Sax,
years,
man, you know what the problem is with the suburbs, Sax, man?
What's that?
And I'm going to just, it's a full circle right here. I'm just going to keep it real. The problem with the suburbs is they're 40% black, and the 40% of the black people in the suburbs do not register and vote. So that means that the same people in control of government is the same people that was in control of government before. The Ferguson Act, okay? In Ferguson, you had a black community that was 100% black, but it was ran by the same government for over 40 years. So it don't make a difference who live in the city. It don't make a difference who come into the city if the voters are not going to get up and vote and put their government in place. That's the problem we having right now.
And once again, like I said, they feel their vote is not going to matter.
I don't care what they feel. The millennial has to. Right.
It's like when I turned 18, my mother used to go vote. My name was right up under hers at the register. She said, "You ain't vote. Get your vote. You ain't about to stay in my house if you don't get up and go vote."
Right. And there you go. And then you have to realize.
That starts at home.
And you have to realize this also is that most suburbs, all their money comes from taxes and enforcement. Okay, that's how they play their police. Okay, so this is something that everybody has to understand. Their police get paid to write tickets. That's how they get paid. Okay, their police is not Euclid. Is used to riding in one-man cars. They're not used to dealing with the flex of crime that has came in with certain groups coming in. They're not used to sending the whole police department to somebody's house.
It used to be a senior community.
Okay, you go to the next Euclid is Willowick. Okay, Wycliffe. I can call them out. Look at Maple Heights.
Willoughby.
Look at Garfield. Look at Warrensville. Look at East Cleveland.
Well, I grew up in Warrensville. In Warrensville, we moved in '83, and it was like 2 or 3 whites there.
My dad owned the house. He was the first black on Larkspur Lane that had a house.
Okay.
Back in the day when he had his karate studio.
And somebody in the chat room,
he was the first black man.
Somebody in the chat room just said Euclid's 59% black.
Yep.
So if Euclid's 59% black, then I want all y'all to simmer on this for a minute, and it's going out to the radio world before we break it down. If Euclid's 59% black, then why are they having problems with their city government and police officers violating their rights? Why is the chief of police still there? Why is the mayor still there? Why is the council still there? Why is the activists and them have not removed the judge?
Yeah, she's a problem.
Okay, think about this. They're 59% black. And I want to throw this out there to the radio land because I know we had a tough conversation and everybody looking at Tony Stone and slapping. And Tony Stone, I love my millennial over there. Yeah. Tony Stone know that I'm going to stay on him. And I meant what I said. I'm going to say this again. I'm not drawing that back. If a kid commit a murder, he has to be removed from society and deal with, period. Okay? No ifs, ands, or buts about that. I don't care who you are. I debate with you on that on anything. But this is something that I wanted to go into right here. One of the most glorious suburbs in the history of the world had the richest millionaire living on it. Rockefeller's estate. Okay? The city is 17,000 residents. Last election, only 2,300 voted.
Which one was it? Pepper Pike? No, not Pepper Pike.
Second is a city where has a turmoil problem, multiple recalls, 4 elections, and they have the same problems that they had 10 years ago. And everybody's still in office.
Because they know black folks ain't going to vote.
That's the problem right here, folks. And this is what I told everybody before. You got to do your civic duty, go out and vote. Highway 31 is a protocol and an example of black people getting together, getting their IDs, getting registered, driving out to each house, putting everybody there. For 2018, I want to say this before we go off the air off our first show, for all our 22 cities listening to us on internet radio on the land, 2018, I want you to ride at the polls. Do not go out protesting on the highway no more. If you're going to protest about something, do the protesting down at the Board of Elections. And with that being said right there, Tone the Stone.
This is big, I can't lose. Sugar bow down, I'm the next to rule, but I'ma stay on the cool, remain on the under, cause like Andre 3000, your boy's ice cold. Ain't no limit to the gimmicks and ways to make money. No limit to the just to act funny when you get that cake, cause you spit that way. They may love you tomorrow when they hate you today, but yo, that's the way the story goes, so I was told. Following the ramble down the yellow brick road, please believe at the end ain't no pie to go, just some platinum beats from the Cleveland streets.
Tone the Stone, the Diamond Boy, got into a heated conversation on Stop the Madness, Keep It 100. That's the way we do it, and we're going to do this all year long. We ain't letting nobody get away with anything, and we're going to keep it controversy because you know what? In our 22 cities down in Savannah, they are really going on what I told Tone the Stone about. Any juvenile to commit murder must be removed from society. Tone the Stone, what you got to say for us?
I disagree with you. We're going to leave it like that for right now. I tell the truth, or at least I try to tell the truth. That's what I try to do. So I'm going to leave you with this. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I don't care if you're black, white, whatever, rich or poor. Whatever change you're looking for starts with yourself. You got to take accountability for your own actions. Be responsible for your own actions, and you got to do what you know is right or what you know you're supposed to do. And then once everybody is in that state of mind or that thought, then we can start talking about the community as a whole coming together like this. Because everybody can't be on the same page if they try to take care of themselves, you know.
Well, that's a good thing right there. Sax Man, our man on the beat, Sax Man in Studio 51 with us. And sitting there, Michael Wilkins from L.A., Sax Man.
Here we go.
You know he want to send you something, but we just don't have time to do it.
We ain't got time to hear that BS today. You know, I'm not surprised that Tone disagrees with us because he's a millennial, so it's understandable. But I want to say this, everyone. This is a great show. This is a progressive show, and we do keep it real. We do say what we say is our opinions, but we do, we keep the facts, and we want the best for everybody. That's just the way it is.
And we have a guest coming out of the Red Room, John. We'd like to thank you for coming with us on Stop the Madness, Keep It 100, and you're going to have to come back with us, John. We're going to really want you to get back in and, hey, make this regular, man. I'm going to have to come see you and get me a fade up. I ain't had a good fade since I was in the zone car, man.
Yeah, it's been a while.
But, John, what you want to tell our people before we get ready to roll?
I just want to thank you, Sean, for just inviting me, and Tone, my man. I've been cutting his hair. Nice meeting you, brother.
Yes, sir.
Just thanks for listening. Thanks for kicking up with us. You know what I'm saying? I really appreciate this. Give me a little voice for a little minute.
Hey, you're going to have to come back with us, man, and you're going to have to really sit down and get into those things.
Anytime you want, brother.
I'm ready to get it.
Next week, we're going to hit some stuff right there. We're going to do the book, The Fire and Fury. We're going to do a little something entertaining, and we might even have something going on with the 57-year-old candidate. We don't know if Sax Man going to bring it to us or not. But I'm your host, Sean L., and I'd like to thank you for being with us for 2018, 2017, keeping us rolling. Atlanta, Savannah, Georgia. We'd like to keep you in the house. Orlando, L.A., Chicago's in the house. We thank the 22 cities that is listening to us or that's pulling us down. You can get us on internet radio, Snapchat, Mixagram, Mixer, hey, Mixcloud, and SoundCloud. Come on in and see us. And as always, I'm your host, Sean L., and thank you for being with us.
You've been listening to Stop the Madness, Keep It 100 on STMK Radio 100.